Okay, our beloveds, so today we are going to take on a topic that our another is very, very curious about. She even Googled it to get a bit of an understanding of the importance here. And she saw some connections. We'll just leave it there. So the topic is bioluminescence. How is it that some creatures are able to create a light from within? And then she read that it is caused by a catalyzing agent, which then creates a reaction, which we had talked about in a different channeling in recent weeks. So what is all of this? What is its importance? She was trying to find the link today by just reading a few articles on the description. And the one thing that she saw is that bioluminescence is similar to the chlorophyll within the plants, meaning you produce your own food, your own energy. And now here she is teaching the energy of firefly, illumination from within. So does this mean that man will begin to create its own energy for food, or what is the relevance? She really has a great curiosity, so we decided that this is a good topic to do just a very basic primer on, because it's something that none of you know anything about, because this is a new energy which is coming in, which means science, of course, will not have studied it yet because it doesn't exist in their time frame yet. It exists in reality, but you cannot study what you don't know exists. And it will take some time for this to kind of come into the mainstream or even the fringe, for that matter. So here is what we wish to share with you all about bioluminescence. It is an energy form whereby you create an illumination. But unlike these creatures who do it for safety, security, food catching, or, whatever reason, you all will be doing it to grow your auric field, your energetic field. And yes, with time, if you so choose, it can also replace your dinner, your meals. But the point is not to replace the food per se, but to create an energetic, no, Kati, that's correct, energetic creation of life force. And yes, energetic is not a word, but nonetheless, it's one we wish to use. It's an energetic creation of life force, which means that as you all connect to this inner knowing that you have always had but have been denied access to for the most part because of your construct, we'll leave it there. But now as your construct is falling away, so think of a rosebud that is tightly furled, and then as it opens up, at the end, the blossom petals unfold and unfurl, and then ultimately fall off, leaving only that center bud stem. This is similar to what is happening with your guys' limitations, what kept you from connecting to the divine. It was hidden deep within you, but there were so many layers of petals that kept you from connecting because it was so tightly wound around you, and it just simply was very difficult for the majority of you to connect to. But as time passes and as the sun now comes out to ripen you all into your current state, many of you are finally expanding and learning that this divine energy is real. And no matter what construct that you come from, you are all coming to that comprehension, that knowing, that understanding, that expectation even, that you are now to connect to the divine in a new way, because you are in a new energy, and many of you can feel it. Now, obviously, those more sensitive to energies, as well as those who are in the Akashic record business, meaning you connect to the divine to get your divination information in one form or another, tarot, going to a psychic or medium, doing your own inner work, praying to God, and getting visuals and Bible tarot answers. However you do it, it doesn't matter. You have been finding a greater connectivity between you and the answers which you seek. And this is the purpose of the bioluminescence for man, for the two-leggeds. You're finally learning that flame within you, which you have felt but didn't honor or recognize, but you have felt it. You just didn't know what it was. And you are now beginning to realize that this is your inner knowing, your inner gut. And so long as you set aside your coping mechanisms, which don't serve you, they are fear-based. When you can set those aside, build a healthy structure or foundation for your life, have somebody teach you what healthy boundaries and unhealthy boundaries look like, what giving, what trusting, what hypervigilance, what trauma, what tragedy, what so many different concepts look like in your lives after you have gone through them, you will begin to realize how much of your lives were fear-based, and therefore your quote-unquote inner guidance system was fear-based, ego-driven. It was amygdala-driven. It was not an inner guidance system. And yet this is what many of you have based your lives on, just trying to stay alive, not jump off of a perfectly good cliff because you weren't certain if your wings would carry you to the other side. And you are now learning that this fear-based way of living has kept you from living more fully, and in many cases at all. You have restricted your choices. You have limited your choices to an extent where you really haven't lived, you merely existed. And now you're beginning to untie those ropes, those ties, those perceptions of what you thought you had to be in order to be loved, to be respected, to be worthy of being hired, to be employable, to be set free, to be respected, to be honored, to be heard, to be seen as an equal, one of value, one of competence, one of a lot of things. You're beginning to see how your fear-based limitations kept you from living fully. And now as these energies shift and as you see the world kind of blossom in its own new fashion after these COVID restrictions are beginning to shift and ease in certain places, you are noticing how things are not as they were before. And you, in some ways, appreciate where you're at. In other ways, you want to return to the old ways because of the stability, the income, the knowing, the living on autopilot, really. And now you're having to be conscious in much of what you do, aware of what you do, the people who you let into your lives, because you have really limited your way of living this last year and a half. And now you're coming back to life and you're saying, yeah, I don't really enjoy being around these certain people because it doesn't feel good. And I really don't want to buy these things because it really doesn't make me happy. And I really enjoy the simplicity of certain aspects of the life that I have created or that was forced upon me. And, I don't want to go back to that stress-filled life because it just doesn't serve me. And as more and more of you go to a simpler way of living with less stress, less money, more happiness, more free time to observe your navel, to be in the presence of your family, to be in the presence of nature, to enjoy what you have in the moment instead of always being in the future, planning for your next thing to buy, or the next thing to do, or the next person to visit, or the next job to take, or the next. And you're more in the present now. And it's starting to come into your understanding how you haven't really lived in the present because you were always in the future or the past. And now you're being forced into the present, and it is a very unusual and uncomfortable, unsettling, unchaotic energy. You're used to the drama of life, the chaos of life, the pressure of life, of having to go to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And now you're learning what it feels like to be in the now and just sitting with it and being with it and accepting that this is more living than being in the future. So we just encourage you all to continue with this expression of self. And as you do more and more of it, that inner glowing of yours will get bigger. And just remember, just like a magnet, if you have a little teeny magnet, its energetic field only goes so far. But if you take one of those huge magnets that they use to pick up cars or vehicles, when you go out into public and your energy field has grown, that is the expression that your energy has on others. You are more catalyzing to those around you where they are further away from you because your magnetic field reaches that much further. And you will either attract or repel people by your energetic imprint. It will be that obvious. And part of it will come, of course, from how you dress and how you speak and how you present yourself. But the majority of it will be the unseen energy that people will feel when they will walk by you. And they will either be repulsed by you or greatly attracted by you. And this goes, we're going to say this goes for both energy types. If you are more of a negative Nelly, your energy imprint may be small or huge, depending upon how much effort you put into controlling and magnifying your energy. And for those of you who are more positively based, love-based, you too will notice this. But as people move into this new energy, there will be less fence sitters. People will be energetically called to take a stance, any stance on something that is important to them. And it doesn't matter what it is. It's just that it is something that causes you to be called to action and to make a difference in some meaningful way this time around. And then you will all come together and tell your battle stories when these times have passed. And for those of you who have transitioned, you will just watch through the ether as your loved ones come online. It is an amazing, catalyzing time, which you all incarnated for, even those of you who are choosing not to participate in the ascension process. You are adding value through your negative rotations as much as those of you who came to be the love and the light. You each are expressing energy in a bigger, more meaningful fashion, thereby filling in the Akashic records for the extreme ends of the spectrum. And those of you who are in the center, you will find that as the teeter-totter goes left or right, you will be pulled in one direction or the other. But sitting in the center is just no longer an option. You will need to choose something that you are willing to stand up for and die for. And it's that simple. It's that simple. Bioluminescence is creating a bigger imprint of your energetic field. And those who choose to do it through the love and light business model will have a huge glow that will illuminate the stratosphere, and no one who is still hiding in the shadows can pretend that this is not real, and they will either need to stand up and defend their position or shift to become that of the light themselves. It is no longer hiding in the shadows. It's not an option. Become your truest version of yourself, whichever that may be. And so it is. Namaste.